Masachika is a socially awkward, anime-obsessed loser until the most popular girl in school, Alya, takes a liking to him. Alya isn't just any popular girl. She's a goddess on campus, with everyone gazing at her in awe, literally worshipping the ground she walks on. One morning, a cocky guy tries to hit on her, confident that his cheap haircut is enough to impress her, but Alya swiftly rejects him. The guy tries to save face by asking for her number, but Alya crushes his ego, telling him she has zero interest in him, leaving him speechless. The rest of the school realizes they don't stand a chance with her after she demolishes the school's most coveted guy. Later, Alya walks into class and finds Masachika snoozing, so she kicks him awake and teases him about staying up all night binge-watching anime. Masachika confesses to the crime, but claims he had something important to do afterward. Not scrolling through Twitter threads, but watching anime recap videos. Yes, you heard that right. Alya calls him crazy, but Masachika is unapologetic, saying that if it's for the sake of anime culture, he'll gladly be institutionalized. Alya then gazes at him as he yawns widely enough to swallow an eggplant whole. She utters something in Russian, and when Masachika asks what it means, she tells him it translates to, "You look pathetic, ouch." Masachika and Alya share a chemistry class, and when Masachika realizes he forgot his textbook, he joins Alya's table to borrow hers. As the teacher lectures on, Masachika struggles to stay awake, but eventually, he dozes off. Alya pokes him with her pin, making him raise his hand. The teacher asks for the answer, and Masachika looks to Alya for help. She points to an answer, and Masachika confidently repeats it, but ends up giving a wrong answer. The teacher then turns to Alya to correct him, and she provides the right answer. Masachika feels betrayed and asks why Alya would sell him out like that. Alya claims she was pointing out the question number, but Masachika is unconvinced, especially with her mischievous smile. Suddenly, Alya whispers something in Russian, "Milashka," catching Masachika off guard. When he asks what she said, she calls him stupid, but Masachika has a secret. He's been understanding her Russian all along, and she actually called him cutie. This revelation shocks him, as he tries to figure out what she means, but she continues to pretend innocence. Masachika learned Russian from playing with a Russian girl in his childhood, but he never thought he'd be charmed by a Russian beauty who doesn't know he can understand her. If he reveals his secret, she'd likely die of embarrassment. Later, Alya catches Masachika using his phone during class and reminds him it's only allowed in emergencies, but he ignores her. Frustrated, Alya takes the phone to see what he's up to. When she sees an anime screenshot, she returns the phone, annoyed. Then, in Russian, she says her hair is silver too and teases him about being a cheater. Masachika is caught off guard and tries to process what she's saying, but when he asks what she meant, she calls him a game junkie. Masachika starts explaining why he's not a game junkie, but Alya just looks away, seemingly giving up on him. At lunch, Masachika meets up with his friends and spots the student council members, including Alya, Yuki, and Maria, Alya's sister. The boys agree that the Kuju sisters are stunningly beautiful, but Maria turns down everyone who asked her out, saying she's already taken. Alya jokingly says Takashi has no chance with her since his head is shaped like a doorknob. In the meantime, the girls are searching for a place to sit, and when Yuki notices Masachika's apathetic expression, she asks if they can join the boys. The boys agree, and the girls sit down with them. Yuki observes that Masachika has ordered the same ramen as her, but when she takes a bite and discovers it tastes terrible, like battery acid, she jokingly suggests reporting it to the student council. Masachika cautions her not to mix personal opinions with administrative matters, but Yuki playfully reassures him she was just kidding. At that moment, Alya gives Yuki a disdainful look and asks if they're friends. Yuki explains that they've known each other since they were kids, having attended the same preschool. The boys then decide to take their lunch elsewhere, with Takashi remarking that the girls are too flashy for their inexperienced eyes. Once the boys are gone, Yuki leans in closer to Masachika and asks if he's considered her proposal to join the student council, given his capable nature and past experience as her vice president in middle school. Alya suddenly switches to Russian, saying she didn't need to be told that. After saying their goodbyes, Yuki departs, and Alya remarks that she's astonished any girl wouldn't want to be friends with Masachika. Masachika corrects her, reminding her that she's his friend, which catches Alya off guard. She agrees and swiftly walks away, leaving Masachika perplexed. Later that night, Masachika has a nostalgic dream about his childhood, where he played with a blonde Russian girl. When he wakes up, he recalls how he used to be infatuated with her and even went so far as to learn Russian just to communicate with her, but unfortunately, he can't remember her name. The next morning, Masachika arrives at class early and takes the time to tidy up before the others arrive. Alya is the first to show up, and Masachika can't help but notice the dirt stains on her socks. He asks if she stepped in a puddle, but she explains that she got splattered with mud by a passing truck. She then quickly changes the subject and asks Masachika if he's reconsidered joining the student council. However, he reaffirms his disinterest in joining. Alya attempts to ask another question, but her face flushes with embarrassment, and she tells him to forget about it. Alya starts to remove her socks, leaving Masachika weak in the knees. Noticing his shyness, Alya gets a mischievous idea and asks Masachika to retrieve a spare sock from her locker. Masachika hesitantly agrees, but when Alya instructs him to put it on her foot, he tries to back out. She tempts him, saying it would be a nice reward for his help, and even switches to Russian, suggesting it would be beneficial for both of them. Masachika starts to suspect that Alya might be using him to release her stress. When he asks what she said, Alya calls him a coward, so Masachika decides to take the challenge and puts the sock on her foot. However, Alya freaks out, claiming she wasn't ready, and Masachika tells her to stop squirming. In the process, he accidentally touches her in a sensitive area, prompting her to deliver a swift kick to his face, giving him a glimpse of the place he touched in the bargain. Masachika goes down, but he thinks it was worth the brief peek. Later, Alya gives Masachika the cold shoulder, so he tries to apologize, but she labels him a leg fetishist in Russian. She then clarifies that she's not angry with him and apologizes for kicking him. When she checks if he's okay, Masachika deflects and thanks her for the preview of the promised land. Alya becomes mortified and punches him. She turns to flee, while Masachika chases after her. The two of them engage in a lively chase around the school, but eventually, after 10 minutes, Alya relents. Masachika apologizes for overstepping his bounds and offers to buy her favorite drink as a peace offering. Alya is touched by the gesture and switches to Russian to ask if he'd like a sip of her drink. Masachika's heart skips a beat as he realizes she's hinting at an indirect kiss, but he gets cold feet and pretends not to understand what she's saying. As usual, Alya adapts the translation on the fly, chuckling to herself as she thinks Masachika is clueless about the Russian phrase. Several days later, Masachika meets up with Yuki in his storage room, and as they start to mess around, Alya suddenly appears, complaining about being the odd one out. It turns out that the girls need help organizing the storage space. So Masachika begins by fetching some board games, which prompts Yuki to boast about her recent victory. Alya tells the cringy couple to get back to work, then switches to Russian, expressing her desire for some attention too. Masachika gets goosebumps as Alya continues to beg him to pay attention to her, while Alya thinks she's being super sly. After they finish, they head to the student council office, where the president, Kanzaki, introduces himself and mentions that he's heard a lot about Masachika. Masachika thinks it's no surprise that Kanzaki is the president. When Masachika tries to leave, Kanzaki insists on treating him to dinner as a token of appreciation. Masachika tries to decline, but Yuki convinces him to accept, saying he'd only be going home to an empty house anyway. Kanzaki is puzzled by how Yuki could know what Masachika's home situation is like, but Yuki simply says they go way back. Kanzaki then invites the girls to join them for dinner, and they agree. During dinner, Kanzaki commends the group for completing their tasks so quickly, and Yuki starts singing Masachika's praises as the reason behind their success. Kanzaki asks Masachika if he'd like to join the student council, but Masachika declines again. Yuki adds to the pressure, so Masachika asks why she needs him when she's a shoo-in to win, but Kanzaki reveals that's not the case, especially since Alya is also planning to run for president. This surprises Masachika, and Alya confirms her plans to run. After dinner, Kanzaki suggests Masachika walk Alya home while he takes care of Yuki, so they split up. Alya seems particularly distant to Masachika, and when they reach her stop, she leaves without her usual Russian flirting. Masachika arrives home to find Yuki lounging on the couch, and he asks what she's doing there, but she ignores him and continues reading her favorite manga. Masachika confronts her about pretending to be childhood friends in school, but Yuki insists that being siblings doesn't contradict that. The next morning, Masachika wakes up to find Yuki on top of him, and he tells her that he doesn't like the situation. Later, they head to the mall together, and Yuki checks out some clothes while Masachika is shocked by the price tag. While they shop, Masachika asks Yuki about the silver object he notices at the corner of his eye, and Yuki says she's already aware of the peeping Tom. Masachika wonders how to handle the situation delicately, but Yuki doesn't care and walks right up to Alya. Alya tries to play it cool, claiming she'd only seen them a few moments ago, but no one buys it. Yuki invites Alya to lunch with them, but when Masachika tries to stop her, Alya wonders what the big deal is. Yuki explains that it's a spicy food joint and tells her not to come if she can't handle it. Alya insists she'll go, ignoring Masachika's warnings, and soon finds herself standing before the gates of hell. She starts to have second thoughts until Yuki starts teasing her, making her double down. When they enter the restaurant, Yuki explains the flavor of hell that awaits her in each dish, so Masachika tries to save her by opting for the mildest option on the menu. The girls decide to order the same dish as Masachika, and while they wait, Alya teases Yuki about looking boyish for a change. Yuki reveals that she was in bed with Masachika that morning, causing him to spit out his drink, and the other guys in the restaurant start eavesdropping on the juicy gossip. Alya looks to Masachika for an explanation, and he claims that Yuki jumped into his bed on her own. Finally, their order of super spicy noodles arrives, and just the sight alone makes Alya jump. However, she refuses to back down from the challenge and starts eating, but soon the spices hit her hard. When Masachika tries to ask if she's okay, she insists she's fine, but starts crying and begging for help in Russian. Yuki, being mischievous, offers to add even more spice to her food, and Masachika realizes she's doing it on purpose. He tries to rescue Alya, but she refuses his help and adds more spice to her food. After taking a bite, she screams at the spiciness, and they end up outside. Masachika says Yuki went to buy something, and it's just the two of them now, so he asks if she wants some ice cream. Alya finally cools off when Masachika asks her why she wants to be student council president. She says she doesn't need a reason to aim higher, and Masachika asks if she has a running mate. She says she doesn't need one and would probably ask a random stranger just because of the rules, but when she switches to Russian, she wishes he would run with her. This reminds Masachika of a time when he watched a girl ugly cry over losing the elections, making him feel bad. Alya asks if he has any plans after that, and Masachika says he doesn't, and Yuki won't be back for a while, so Alya asks him to follow her shopping. Yuki says it would imply a close relationship between them, but when Masachika realizes that Alya doesn't have many friends due to her prickly attitude, he decides to pity the silvered Sundara wannabe. They head to the store, and Alya wonders why Masachika's being so nice to her, then gets mad when she thinks it's because he expects her to lose the presidency. She heads to the changing stalls angrily and intends to blow him away with her fashion sense. She realizes guys have active imaginations, so she tells him to move farther away so he doesn't hear the sounds. Reassured, she begins to change her clothes and then puts on a cute outfit to show him. Suddenly, she wonders what she'd do if he has no reaction at all. When she opens the curtain, Masachika tells her she looks great and even puts effort into the compliment. Alya has a panic attack, while Masachika simultaneously experiences cringe failure from the embarrassment. Alya wonders if he's used to giving compliments because of that pitch-faced Yuki, so she decides to try a boyish outfit like her. Again, Masachika makes her turn red when he tells her she looks cool. Alya goes on a fashion frenzy, trying on multiple outfits in hopes of getting Masachika's attention and admiration. She decides to take a bold step and show off a risque look, hoping to catch Masachika off guard. However, her plan is foiled when Yuki suddenly appears, leaving Masachika unimpressed. Alya quickly switches to Russian, mortified, and wishes she could vanish into thin air. Masachika translates for Yuki, who teasingly calls her a big baby. Later, on the train, Alya is lost in thought. but snaps back to reality when Masachika and Yuki bid their farewells. As they exit, she starts to panic about her daring outfit choice. But then, a more pressing question occurs to her. Why did they both get off at the same station? When Alya arrives home, her sister Maria is waiting with a warm welcome. Maria notices that Alya looks a bit down and asks what's bothering her. Alya opens up about Masachika and his childhood friend, which brings a smile to Maria's face, thrilled that someone has finally managed to penetrate Alya's tough exterior. Alya tries to brush it off, but Maria directly asks if she has feelings for Masachika. Maria questions how Alya can be friends with someone like him, especially since she says she despises his lack of effort. 6 years ago, in Russia, a class project sparked a turning point in Alya's life. The assignment offered a prize to the winning group, igniting Alya's enthusiasm. She threw herself into the task, even venturing into town to interview her subject thoroughly. Upon returning to school, however, she discovered her classmates lacked any comparable zeal. Alya tried to rally them, hoping to inspire a shared drive for victory, but they remained stubbornly apathetic. The sight of Alya's meticulous work, a full-blown dissertation she'd crafted for the project, prompted their criticism. They accused her of overdoing it, ultimately leading to a heated argument that left Alya isolated, forced to complete the project alone. When the results were announced, another group claimed the prize, leaving Alya deeply disheartened. Walking home, she reflected on the experience, realizing she'd wrongly assumed others shared her ambition. This realization spurred a change within her. Alya resolved to be self-reliant and strong, forging her own path forward. Years passed, and Alya found herself enrolled in a prestigious Japanese school, where fate led her to share a classroom with a notorious slacker, Masachika, who seemed to conserve even his energy for breathing. While Alya wasn't entirely surprised by this behavior, having encountered similar types before, she couldn't help but wonder about the depth of his apathy. The annual school festival arrived, assigning each student various tasks. Driven as always, Alya shouldered the burden alone. Some girls tried to persuade her to relax, reminding her it was just a festival, but Alya remained steadfast, determined to pour her heart and soul into every detail. She pushed herself relentlessly, despite pricking her fingers repeatedly in her dedication. Suddenly, Masachika appeared. Sensing Alya's self-inflicted exhaustion, he urged her to go home, assuring her that everyone would contribute the next day. Alya, however, insisted on staying, only to be surprised by Masachika revealing a permission slip granting the Handicrafts Club access to stay and assist. Alya was baffled by his seemingly effortless arrangement. Masachika explained his methods, emphasizing the futility of working alone. This ignited Alya's frustration. She couldn't fathom what was wrong with taking the festival seriously. She delivered a characteristically passionate speech about uncompromising quality, declaring there was nothing wrong with her dedication since no one else shared her passion. Masachika countered, reminding her that the essence of festivals lies in collaboration and suggesting she leverage her enthusiasm to guilt-trip others into working alongside her. Sensing another lengthy lecture brewing, he swiftly apologized, expressing his admiration for her efforts. Alya finally relented and headed home, but Masachika's enigmatic nature left her with more questions than answers. The following day, a surprising transformation unfolded. The boys stepped up, not only completing their tasks efficiently but also enjoying the process, much to Alya's astonishment. A sense of camaraderie filled the air, and even Alya found herself swept up in the fun. The festival went off without a hitch, proving that collaboration could yield delightful results. During the after-party, Alya discovered Masachika sitting alone and joined him. He questioned her reluctance to join the dancing, prompting Alya to reveal her childhood ballet training but her refusal to dance with admirers. Masachika labeled it a typical ice princess response, a nickname that seemed new to Alya, who expressed annoyance at the implication of privilege and distaste for having her efforts overshadowed by birthright. To Alya's pleasant surprise, Masachika understood and agreed not to use the term, earning her heartfelt gratitude for seeing past her facade. She thanked him for helping her break free from self-imposed isolation and enjoy the festival with everyone else, apologizing for her previous preachy lecture. Masachika dismissed her apology, but Alya insisted on repayment, asking what he desired. After pondering, Masachika inquired about her real nickname, pleased when she revealed it was simply Alya. He requested permission to call her by that name, claiming bragging rights for being chummy with the class idol as his motivation. Just then, the scent of desperation filled the air as Alya's fan club descended upon her, vying for a dance and invading her personal space. To everyone's astonishment, Masachika seized Alya's hand and declared she was taken, effectively silencing the eager suitors. Alya's heart skipped a beat as she stared at him in surprise. He challenged her to a dance-off, which Alya eagerly accepted. From then on, Masachika reverted to his usual slothful demeanor while Alya showered him with verbal barbs. But beneath the surface, something had shifted. She was undeniably rizzed up. In the present, Mary observed their endearing dynamic, recognizing the classic friends-to-lovers trope and drawing parallels to her own relationship with her mysterious locket lover. Alya insisted their connection wasn't romantic, claiming they were merely friends, but Mary knew better. Alya conceded that Masachika had a way of pulling through when it mattered most, prompting Mary to launch into an enthusiastic gush about Sakuen, which left Alya wanting to hurl. The next day, Masachika found himself at the student council office, covering for Yuki. Mary, bursting with enthusiasm, immediately introduced herself as Alya's big sister and council secretary, showering him with attention. He offered to help her with her shopping errands, but Mary insisted on casualness, claiming they were friends because of Alya. She clasped his hands, a gesture that sparked a strange familiarity within him, prompting him to question what felt so strangely recognizable. He introduced himself, and when he uttered his name, a jolt of recognition surged through Mary. After a brief pause, she apologized for her frozen demeanor and simply greeted him as Alya's friend in Japanese. Then, abruptly switching to Russian, she told him to get going before returning to Japanese and bidding farewell to the president. Their shopping spree continued with a detour into a plushie shop. Mary, captivated by a cute creature, suggested buying one for every council member. Masachika countered that it would make Kanzaki incredibly uncomfortable, leading Mary to insist on purchasing one just for herself. As they walked back, Masachika couldn't help but pity Alya for having such a chaotic sister. He offered to hold the plushie, and Mary jokingly named it after Alya, claiming they looked good together. Their next stop was a tea shop where Mary engaged in animated conversation with the owner while Masachika stood back, recognizing that Yuki would be better suited for this task due to her mother's influence. A wave of memories washed over him, his father breaking the news of their divorce when he was young, Masachika choosing to stay with his dad, and Yuki remaining with their mother. Mary, sensing his melancholic state, pulled him out of his thoughts and offered a hug, patting his hair in a gesture that felt shockingly familiar and comforting. However, the moment was shattered as she accidentally scalded him with hot tea, leaving both surprised and slightly singed. Could Mary be the same girl from Masachika's childhood memories? The lingering familiarity of her touch, her sudden switch to Russian, and the uncanny resemblance sparked a flicker of doubt within him. Write in the comments if you want to see more of this anime on my channel. And this video ends. Have a good day.